Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I am your host, Mike Larkin. You can check out all these shows on StephenMikeShow.com. That is StephenMikeShow.com, which will lead you to the SoundCloud page, SoundCloud.com/MCLarkin92, to get all your favorite shows from On the Mic with Mike, the Pop Culture History Podcast, Stephen Mike Show, and more. And I am pleased to have on this edition of On the Mic with Mike, the beautiful, the absolutely amazing, the absolutely talented adult star is Miss Krystal Davis. Krystal, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
It's my pleasure. I'm doing great, and thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. I got to say, what's great about this platform is I've interviewed a lot of people from wrestling, music, and the adult entertainment industry. I love giving people the platform to tell your story, and you do a lot of great work. So I look forward to, shooting the breeze with you and just talking about your career.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me share my experiences with everyone else.
You're very welcome. Like I said, for me, I'm just going to say this right now, and I'll probably incorporate this a lot in today's show. But beauty, strength, and dominance are three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And as a man who was raised by a great mother and a great grandmother, God rest her soul, I've always respected and appreciated the beauty and the overall work of art that women are. And you exude and accentuate that, Miss Krystal Davis.
Well, great. Yes, there are a lot of wonderful women out there, and yes, moms are always the best, right?
Exactly. Hey, I'll be honest with you. Like we were talking because our birthdays just passed. I just turned 28, and I'm just like, you know what it is too with all this quarantine that's going on. We're going through life with quarantine. Man, I was just happy to have my folks there and some chocolate cake by my side. We had some chocolate cake from Walmart that we picked up, and it was delicious. But it's the simple things, you know.
Exactly. Well, at least you got chocolate cake, right?
Yes, that is true. Yummy, yummy, yummy in the tummy. Absolutely. I gotta ask you because your birthday was also not bad. I remember we were talking about you wanted some sushi and stuff, but how did your birthday go? I know during these times of quarantine, did you make the most out of it?
I sure did. Well, I'm surrounded with family, so that was great. That's the only really thing I wanted to have is that. And of course, we had some food, and yes, like you said, yummy in my tummy. I didn't get my sushi, but I did have barbecue.
Well, I gotta say, if no sushi, barbecue is always the way to go, and I think a
E-
lot of people are doing barbecues now. So
Exactly, exactly. So I can't complain. I'm always blessed.
that's the thing. You got to stay blessed, stay on your grind, mind right, grind right. To make a pop culture reference, Ice Cube and Crazy Bone until we rich. There we go.
I love it.
I like your style. So, Miss Krystal Davis, to start our show off today, you got to tell me first and foremost, how did you get involved in the adult entertainment industry, and just really what led you into said career?
Actually, I was actually in the lifestyle, which is the swinging lifestyle. I was on vacation in Las Vegas, and I got contacted by my dear friend Will Tile, and we decided that we were going to record our session. After we did all the paperwork and everything, he's like, "You sure you're okay if I take this out, or if I show this out?" I'm sure. I said, "Sure," but at the time, my very first time, I was wearing a mask. So after that, I was like, I kind of enjoyed that. And after that, we did another one. And then I finally said, hey, I'm going to do a little bit of this here and there. And this is where I'm at now. I'm doing it full time.
And that's the thing. I think it's amazing just to see like how you get involved. Like you mentioned, Will Tile. You've done a lot of great films with him. I believe there was one where Slut School was in there. I mean, you get to look nice and you're sexy, like you like a bookworm type of deal. I think that's great. You get to encompass a lot of great films, and Will Tile is another one who does great work in the adult entertainment industry.
Yes, being in the adult industry it makes me feel like I'm me. I'm, doing everything I never got to do before. So it's really letting me express who I really am in many different ways. So I really love doing scenes with different people, especially. But Will Tao was my very first one, and he's always going to be my real good friend.
Hey, and that's wonderful. You know what it is too. Like I always look at it. People have kind of like that negative connotation in the way it comes to the adult entertainment industry. But I look at it like this, like I mentioned, having people on from wrestling, music, and all different facets of life. It's really another art form, and you're really honing your craft. But with the whole physical and the overall sex appeal, of it. From you look at the '80s, which a lot of people reference to like the golden age of porn, and then you get to the '90s and the 2000s. We get to see the evolution of how the adult entertainment industry has really sufficed.
Yeah. And you know what? The funny thing is, I wasn't really into it back in the days. And it's actually not until maybe I got into my late 20s that's when I got into really watching porn as well. So it's like I'm a such a late bloomer both in watching and in now being in it. So it's fun, it's interesting, and I'm truly enjoying it.
You know what's interesting about it is too, because you mentioned you were a late bloomer, which makes me laugh on that. But it's one of those things where, like for me, it's really the one thing that can trigger you from, I guess, like when you're in your teens and your hormones are kicking in and your hormones are raging, if you will. But for me as a male, like it's funny because I mentioned this on the show, and we'll talk about Jasmine Leflore here in a second. But girlshuntinggirls.com was like the first ever adult site I came into because I'm just like, okay, the premise is they're girls, they're picking up girls, and then there's a one-on-one or threesome, what have you. But that really piqued my interest. And then you see Naughty America and all these different sites that are out there. So it's just amazing just to see what piques your interest, and then how over time, how your preferences and what your overall taste in from that specific genre.
Yes, it's actually so funny because when I do my scenes, I like specific things, but when I watch porn, I like different things. So it's really funny where I look at it, I'm like, oh, but I like doing that, but then I like watching that. So does that mean I don't like watching my own porn? So it's really great to experience different things. When I first started it, I think I was just going to do a boy girl scene, and then now I'm into like, oh, I'm doing girl scene, oh, I'm doing a group scene and things like that. So you kind of evolve throughout, and I'm only been in it for less than a year, so it's really fun going through the different phases, and then I kind of pick and choose now which one I really want to do and continue doing.
And I think for you, because again, you beautifully said that, but it's kind of like, you said less than a year, but it's a learning experience. You get to find yourself and really encompass yourself as your overall being and as your overall, the adult performer that you are. So I think it's great that, you kind of like expanded your horizons to an extent, instead of boy, girl, let me do this. And you're kind of like finding your way. You're finding your own niche, if you will.
Yeah, and I think it's all about that, trying everything, and then maybe after experiencing once or twice, then you'll decide, oh, maybe that's not so much for me, or maybe I want to do more of this, or I want to do less of that. So I'm pretty much open and trying everything new the first time, maybe even the second time. And then on the third time, that's when I'll decide, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that kind of scene because I can't, I'm not good at it, or things like that.
Well, I think for me, being the male, and like I mentioned before, earlier the show here, talking about mother and my grandmother being my biggest influence, I look at it like this, because me as a male, I guess from my overall point of view and how I like women, I think it's from the physical attraction, but it's also that emotional attraction, having that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I think for you, I could tell by just talking to you, you're a true professional and you're very likable and you have that vibrant energy about you. So I got to say this, and I mean this with the utmost sincerity and respect: anyone that gets a chance to work with you is in for a treat.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I mean, I like people generally to begin with. I trust mostly everyone, and you're the only one who would give me a reason to not trust you again or something. But I'm very much a people person, I would say. But I am technically, I would consider myself a shy person most times. So it's just really how comfortable you are with people and how comfortable they make you feel helps a lot.
Hey, I'm right there with you on the shyness. Dare I say, shy, shy, hush, hush, I do I. Get back to the movies. But no, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was the shy kid. You know what I'm saying? I was very quiet, and a lot of people. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes people can kind of take that as like standoffish, but it's like not really. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what piques us. Like we want to be polite, but we're also kind of like we're kind of in our ways. But as we grow older, we experience things like you mentioned, adult industry, but also pertains to actual real life. We get
Right.
to open ourselves up and experience things in life.
Exactly. I mean, you only live once, is what they say, right? So you have to really experience as much as you can and then decide for yourself what's good for you and what's not.
See, sometimes I even get confused on like, what do I even use now? Like YOLO, you only live once. Living my best life. It's like, what am I using now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know these days.
Hey, either way, I gotta say this. It all pertains to a lot of positivity and good vibes being generated into one's beings. I think that's awesome. Now, for me, it's funny. This will make you laugh, and I love telling these stories because as a young man getting involved and just experiencing porn for the first time, I'll admit this. Like, I was that kid. Like, all right, so I remember going to Hollywood Video, and then there being Spider Babe. For those that remember that, which was like the parody of the Spider-Man films, and then you see like Cat House the series being on like HBO, and then there's like real real sex, and then there's Taxi Cab Confessions. So adult shows were like at my fingertips as a young man. So I'll be honest with you, I was that kid that, when parents go to sleep, bada boom, bada bing, there you go. I mean, it's normal, but I mean, it happens. You know what I'm saying? You're experiencing stuff because your parents are there. And like I said, my mother and my father raised me right with the work ethic and stuff. But I gotta say, there were times where it's just like, get out, leave right now, to channel my inner JoJo right there. Hey, it happens. Yes, I mean, I think you can attest to, and a lot of people can. There's shows and there's adult theme shows that are on there. I mean, you had like the same actors and actresses. Like I remember Nicole Sheridan and Widow and all these people like doing the same scenes. It's like, oh, I saw them in this one last week. Now here's a new one this week. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Exactly. Yes. It's actually generations, right? So depending on what time or when, the actions are all the same. So whatever you did back then, that's what kids now are doing. But now they just, oh, they can't go anywhere, so I'll just lock my room kind of thing. So it's
I'm right there with you on that. Yeah, you're making me laugh with that because I look at it like this. Like I said, I'm blessed. Like to also use the term that you so greatly said there, blessed. I look at it like this. So I got to have Ginger Lynn on the show, and we talked about kinky business. Now, people look at like Vivid and the porn parodies that we have right now, but it's just like look at kinky business. Like that's a play on risky business, and you get to see one of the most iconic films at that time. Tom Cruise with Becca De Mornay, and then you to see and then you get to see what we have now. Like Vivid does some stuff like parodies of this show, that show, and what have you. So it's great to like give your own interpretations on like some of the biggest things in pop culture and have that aspect.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, there are different companies now are continuing to do those parodies, and I would love to take part in one of those soon, actually.
Now I'm kind of curious because we're talking about parodies here. What's one that really would stick out to you to do from like a show perspective, movie perspective, and pop culture?
Oh gosh, I there's so many, but I'm such a cosplay kind of person. So anything that has to do with like Marvel stuff, I would really, really want to do. But I don't know if that's gonna ruin it for me or ruin it for other people, but I just want to do something with real cosplay costumes and stuff. So
See, I'm all for that because I'll be honest with you. Like, again, going back to pop culture here, like when I was a kid, like the big things, like in the late 90s, were like the boy bands and, like, for instance, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Jessica Simpson, Mandy Moore will be here all day. So it's one of those things where, like, J14 is like one of the biggest magazines out there that really features pop culture. Still is today, one of the biggest ones. But you look at that time period, like I was a local kid, Long Island, New York, going up to Islip, New York, going to Pathmark, getting me some stickers, getting me some trading cards, what have you, because that was the thing, to have being overall fanatic, if you will. And I'm not just quoting the MTV show there, but being
yeah.
the fanatic that I was. And like, for instance, like you have calendars, you have cosplaying. Like, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, that was like the fan because it's the schoolgirls. You know what I'm saying? She's in the schoolgirls. She's dancing in the hallway. Like a lot of us guys kind of like can gravitate towards like schoolgirl outfits. And we mentioned Slut School that you did with Will Tile, which looking fabulous. So it's
Thank
like
you.
you're welcome. It's like what really catches the eye from like cosplaying from like what have you. You know what I'm saying? It really piques a lot of different men's interest because we all got different preferences.
Oh, of course. Well, I was actually not back in February. I was actually talking to Otal about maybe it's time to do another Slut School Part 2 kind of thing, and I really want to do a series of it. But of course, I haven't seen him since. But that's one thing that I like doing is doing series of the things that I've done and actually having a storyline all the way through. But yes, Britney Spears. Yes, there you go. A lot of people like seeing us wearing school outfits and things like that. And it makes me feel young sometimes when I do.
First and foremost, I don't want to hear about feeling young. You look absolutely fabulous. You do. I don't want to even hear that because here's what I tell people. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, you know what it is? It doesn't matter the age or what have you to me. Because women are beautiful what they are. That's just what I believe. And I
Thank
got to tell you,
you.
first and foremost, you're welcome. You do look fabulous. Dare I say the MILF category, however you want to define it. But you look good. You do look good, Krystal. And I always encompass this, which every show. It doesn't matter the age. Man, I even said this to bring back Ginger Lynn for a second. Like, she still looks good. She's still doing her thing. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Fabulous. Nina Hartley, to use another example.
of
So,
course. Yes.
so, so it's one of those things where, like, again, growing up in the 90s, like, I'm a 90s baby, born in 92. So I remember, like, Jenna Jameson being one of the most downloaded women out there. Your pants
Uh-huh.
sins. So I mean, there's that sex appeal and those, public figures that really encompass that.
Yes, but the thing about what I was saying is, everybody kind of started it when they were still young, so you kind of saw them from back then to now. I'm like, they only see me now. But yes, I am thankful for how I look. I think my mother's and my father's genes, but it takes a lot to take care of yourself when you're my age, of course. But I do my best.
Well, I think that's great because I mean, I'm gonna say it right now. It's kind of like self-love and self-confidence. I think that's another thing I'm gonna say that a lot of us men do enjoy. Besides, again, the physical aspect and the overall physical appeal, I love a girl with confidence, and the confidence really builds and it boosts you as your overall being, and it shows when you do and divulge into your films. I mean, like I said, you got that confidence as well about you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's showing. Sometimes you just don't know, and sometimes you just don't know what other people say, right?
Of course. And it's like for me, it's like it's all about that passion. And I'm not just talking about that lovemaking passion. So people, let's not get your mind out of the gutters for a second. So we're talking about that overall passion, but I mean behind the scenes, a lot of people just think, and I've always discussed this, it's like when you look at a pornographic film or adult film, however you want to define it,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, they're just sitting down there, okay, we're gonna say this, and then it'll lead to bada boom, bada bing, we're having sex. I mean, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, like lighting and stuff that goes into it to get that shot, the overall imagery. I compare it to, and I know I'm showing my nerdiness here, but look at the joy of painting, for God's sake. Bob Ross, you people don't talk about Bob Ross. What is Jufro? So Bob Ross and how he takes like in that 30 minutes you're watching the joy of painting, right? He's got the brush, bada boom, bada bing, we do this, and then by the end of the 30 minutes, we got like a mountain, we got a sunset, we got this majestic painting of sorts. So I mean, the time and craft that he puts into the joy of painting, and the time that we put into not just adult entertainment work and pornographic films, and just what we do as our overall endeavors and jobs. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yes, trust me. I think the back end of the work or the front end of the work is a lot more than the time you spend doing the actual scene. There's a lot of paperwork, testing, things like that, scripts, lines, and all that storyline, costumes, outfits. Oh my goodness, makeup. Yes, you're right. So there's a lot more work before and after the scene is made. And so people maybe don't realize that, but I'm telling you, the time that you actually spend doing the scene is probably less than everything else behind the scene.
But no, I think for me, that's what I've always appreciated, just to get that scene. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, going back to Naughty America for a second, like I remember the days of my first sex teacher and my friend's hot mom. Dare I say, my naughty Latin maid in the office. I'll be here all day because, like I said, a lot of us kids live off Naughty America, and then we see a lot of the sites nowadays, like X Hamster, X Videos, RedTube. Again, we'll be here all day. But everything is now really at our fingertips, and we get to see films from back in the day. And for those that wanted back in the day to like subscribe to Naughty America, like for me, again, everything at our fingertips. But again, going back to preferences and getting to see what we do and how everything goes into that film. Like I remember seeing, I think it was, oh my God, Dana Hayes to use for an example. Like when she did the My First Sex Teacher scene, like one of the scenes that she did of three, like just to see like the lighting and how they had the, the photography aspect. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that.
Yep, and having to capture the angles, the right angles while you're doing a position or whatnot. There's a lot more to it than just doing the doing. But yes, but all of that you have to do with the fun of it. You have to realize when you're doing it, you have to focus on, okay, this is work, but you got to do it for fun as well. Because if it's just work, then it's not going to show. Um, and your audience will see something different than the actual scene that they're looking for, the actual porn that they want to see, because it can get very technical, it can get very robotic at times. But if they see that you're actually enjoying yourself, then the scene will be a good one and people will enjoy watching it.
Of course. And for me, like again, going back to those scenes, like it's cool how they do it because from the teacher aspect, it's like, oh, you got a bad grade. What will you do to, boost up your grade and all that? You get the dialogue there. Like for instance, I remember seeing there was okay, for those that remember Big Sausage Pizza, you know what I'm saying? Pizza's at the door, delivery. How about some cheese with a side of sausage? Like it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. And I mean, it's that, like you mentioned, the fun aspect of it from the dialogue, from the fun and the overall work that goes into it. Like for me, I'm not just invested, in the adult scene because, again, fulfilling your fantasy, dare I say, sweet, sweet fantasy baby. and Mariah go back like House of Fire, but I digress. But it's also that overall fun and dialogue that goes into it as well. And I'm entertained. To put it bluntly, I'm entertained.
Exactly. I mean, yes, there's a lot of things that goes into it, and but yes, I think the biggest part of it is the people who's actually in the scene is they're having fun, they're enjoying what they do, and just like what you said earlier, they have to have that passion, not just the passion of having sex, but the passion for what they do. That's really important.
Hey, I mean, okay, I know I'm using a lot of pop culture references, but I'm glad I'm making you laugh at this because you can see my nerdiness here. But I digress. Yo, man.
Hey, I think there's a part of me too that I'm like, hey, I knew that, so I'm nerdy too, you know?
Hey, man, we'll both be nerds together, and I think you'll enjoy this reference as well, Miss Crystal Davis. Man, it's kind of like George Michael, God rest his soul. Sex is natural, sex is fun, sex is best when one on one. I want your sex. So there.
Exactly.
But no, I think a lot of people realize it figures. Like I mentioned, I'll be honest with you. Like the first time I saw Naomi Campbell and Michael Jackson's "Keep It in the Closet," something about your baby, dangerous,
Mhm.
man. And then you see people like, I mean, I'm growing up with like Tyra Banks. I remember seeing her in the first All That sketch with Kel Mitchell on Good Burger, for God's sake. And
Oh
then you
gosh.
see, now you know what I'm talking about here.
Uh,
So,
yes.
and then you get to like America's Next Top Model, and just to see what she's done in films like Life Size and her own talk show. And I think Tyra Banks is another one that I always respected because also besides the doing, as you put it before, doing the do or do the do, but it's also like the modeling aspect because I enjoy like photos and seeing a girl in a sexy bikini and just seeing the overall elegance that goes in the photo. So I always respected the modeling side of the adult industry as well.
That's so funny that you mentioned that America's Top Next Top Model. Actually, I was watching that before, and I was like, "Oh my God, I wish I had paid more attention to how you make the facial expressions because now when I'm taking pictures, I'm like, God, what face did she make that time, or how am I supposed to look shocked or afraid or whatever?" And I'm like, "Ah, I need to go back and watch those scenes again or shoots again so that I could actually specifically take notes on how to make facial expressions because that's one of the other things is when you take pictures, I tend to make like one facial expression all the time and I'm like, I gotta change my face sometimes. So yes, Tyra Banks, I give her credit because now I'm like, okay, I gotta watch those again.
I think one of the most moments I remember from that was when that girl got eliminated, and she, like, for the first time ever, watching Tyra Banks just go absolutely batshit crazy on that girl was absolutely amazing. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. But I remember that one.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's
Uh,
a lot of those that I actually were like, oh no. I'm like, if she's gone, oh my God.
hey man, it's for me. It also started with Tyra Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel Air when she played Jackie Smith's old flame from Philly. Loved it, loved it.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, yes.
Oh man, but that's the thing, and here's what's funny about popular culture, and just we'll get back to like your stars as well because we're shooting the breeze and bouncing around, and I love it. But for me, like, it's funny because a lot of people, and I hate it about this world, is that we fat shame people, which I think is absolutely horrible. Because for me, I was always taught, respect the woman, and it doesn't matter to me orientation, nationality, or size. For me, I just love and respect the women. That's how I was raised, and that's how I was brought up in my overall mindset. So for me, like when I first heard the term BBW was actually on an episode of Family Matters, and this is where this comes into, and I think this will make you laugh. God rest her soul, the great Donna Summer was Aunt Una on Family Matters, and then she
Yeah.
steps into Steve's transformation chamber, and she gets all skinny, and then but it's like the I believe it was the Reverend or the pastor, minister, whatever you want to define him. He goes, "I like BBWs," and she goes, "What's that?" A big beautiful woman, and that's the first time I found out about BBWs, and then obviously you look at the adult industry and the different categories, but for me, I like a curvy girl. I just like women. You know what I'm saying? But that's another thing. How it's funny how popular culture can really influence terms and just get to know a little bit more about said industry.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was that long ago that that's been used. But yes, that's the one thing that I started learning is when I got into this industry, there's a lot of different ways people are called and different things that are people are called and I'm like trying to understand what it is and call me, old fashioned, but there's some things like I'm like, really? She's considered that? No, she's not, or I'm not, or things like that. And that's one of the struggles I have. I'm kind of like what I call these days a tweener. I'm not that skinny, but I'm not quite that. And but I want to play both. Can I be on that end of the stick or on this end of the stick? But I wish that we really didn't label people because I really do not like labeling people. We are humans, right?
Mhm. And that's the thing, like the stigmas. Like I hate the stigmas and defining it because I'll be honest with you, MILF, GILF, whatever you want to define people's selves, like I mean, I just define them as people. It's all overall beauty. And for me, that's kind of influenced like my dating, if you will, because I mentioned my overall mindset. Like me, give me a good conversation, give me some fun, give me some intelligence, just give me an overall good time and give me some great company. And I'm happy, right? Because you said old fashioned, but kind of traditionalist. You know, we like the simple things. It's the simple things, Miss Krystal Davis. But I also look at it like this. Like with modeling, like you have curvy models. Like I look at girls like Ashley Graham. There's a lot of beautiful ladies on like plus size modeling or what have you. So I mean, I think that's got to stop because women are all beautiful at the end of the day. And I also equate it to like you were talking about stigmas. Like I remember when I first heard about SSBBW, like supersized or however you want to define it, right? Like for me, being my nerdy self, I take myself back to health class with this, Krystal, because I'm like, all right, supersize. I think of supersize me. Morgan Spurlock, 30 days eating the McDonald's. Look, that's again, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the only supersize I know is Morgan Spurlock puking day two, ordering a double quarter pounder of cheese, which, by the way, going hard in the paint day two, what is wrong with you, sir? And his friggin' vegan girlfriend, like, I have to be on top. And I'm like, oh my God. So watching that in health class, but I digress. So that's like, again, you talk about traditionalists and kind of learning about new things like that. When I first heard supersize, I'm like, okay, I kind of think of like Morgan Spurlock eating McDonald's for like 30 days. So yes, I can understand.
Oh man, yeah, supersize. I see you. That's the funny thing. I haven't even heard that term before, but I can see why people would say something like that. But again, like I said, I don't like labeling people. They're people. They're beautiful women, all of them. I have a few friends that are, they consider themselves as BBW, and I'm like, no, you're just a beautiful woman, and that's it to me.
Exactly. And then like later in life, like I think one other one I'll mention was like I remember like fun size and tons of fun, which like first and foremost, I'm gonna put this out right there. Sex is fun, sex is natural one on one. I mentioned George Michael, I want your sex, but that's kind of the point. Like you want to be around a fun person if that makes sense. So it doesn't matter the
Yes.
size as long as it's fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. I'm considered short, and I'm like, okay, yes, I'm short, but there's a lot of things short people can do. But like I said, I don't want to label myself. I wish I was taller, but hey, you know what? This is me. I'm the package. That's it.
First and foremost, two things to retort with that because you are the package, absolutely, Miss Davis. But I also look at it like this: I like me some short women. You know what I'm saying? I like me some tall women. I could rock with it. You know what I'm saying? And then you were talking about I wish I was a little bit taller. I'm like, okay, Skilo, taking it back to 95 there. I see what you did there. So it's one of those things. And by the way, one hit wonders, people. Hello, Reagan. Where did that go after that? He wish he had another
Exactly.
hit, for God's sake. Anyway, not to diss Skilo, but yes, like I totally understood where you would come from with that sentiment because, like I said, short. We're all beautiful at the end of the day. We're overall beings. We're all God's children to take the spiritual route. But you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
Ugh. But yes, a lot of stuff that goes into the adult entertainment industry, and I got to ask you because there's a lot of great, like AVNs, like FetishCon. There's a lot of great events and Exoticas, for example, that really, help really show and accentuate and accentuate and exude the overall adult entertainment industry from the award show perspective. And there's a lot of glitz and glamour and pageantry that goes into those events. So I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on like the AVNs, the FetishCons, and the Exoticas? Because there's a lot of great events out there for the adult entertainment industry.
Yes, I've actually attended a couple of Exotica, the one in Miami and the one in New Jersey, because I just started last summer. So I've attended the last couple ones from last year. And then, of course, the AVN in January. They're all very so fun, but there's so many people, both talent and, of course, just regular fans and uh, crews and a lot of media. But from my experience, I've met a lot of people that I normally wouldn't, be able to meet or work with. But the good thing about it is getting to know people that are really, really nice people that you wouldn't think, oh, she talked to me or he talked to me. Big, big adult industry talents that are very down to earth and it's really nice to be around them. Now, talking about fans and people that really follow you in your platforms, they're so sweet that they're like, they make you feel like, oh, you're so important or you're so popular. But just having the time to, say hi to them and thank them for their support is really a nice way to, to be around them and thank them personally. So I enjoyed myself. I wasn't there for the glamour. I wasn't there for, just come see me or whatever. I'm actually there to, thank people and, have friends and probably meet people that I don't think I would ever, ever meet in my life.
Well, I look at it like this: like we're all investing our time and energy and our overall appreciation of your work. So I think in the end, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm such a nerd that when I see people that, oh wow, I used to watch her before, and I'm finally seeing her in person, and I'm like, Can I take a picture?" So I'm such a fan myself, so that's what I consider, and it's just, I guess, it's my appreciation of the talent and my appreciation of the people that's in the industry as well.
So, speaking as a fellow passionate person, I think this will make you laugh as well because I think you could tell from listening to me talk and really analyze, dissecting, and deciphering your career and your overall being, Miss Krystal Davis. Like, I was such a nerd because, like I said, I get to interview people of all facets of life, like I'm doing here with yourself today, from
Hmm.
wrestling, music. Like, I remember when I interviewed Christy Knowings from all that. Like, I'll be honest with you, I was 5 years old when I saw her and Danny Tamborelli from Adventures of Pete and Pete go on all that. So. I'm like, I gotta be professional, and I really want to ask these questions and just really just shoot the breeze and give like her platform to tell the story. But I'm like, oh my god, it's Christy Knowings. Like I used to watch her when I was 5, and I can't believe I'm doing this. So you have those kind of like nerd out moments. So it's okay. We
Hmm.
all have them. It's cool.
Yes, and it's actually nice because you would think that because they're such big stars that you would think, oh, they're not gonna say hi to me. But then when you ask them, hey, can I take a picture with you? Yeah, sure. And sometimes when you go to those expos, you have to fall in line, right? Because the fans are falling in line to take pictures with the talents. And I actually, even though I'm in the industry and I'm a talent, I fall in line too and wait my turn. So, it's just one of those things. You nerd out. You want to follow the people that you followed when you weren't in it. Just in appreciation for their work as well.
Of course, and I mean it's great because like with Fetish Con, Avians, and Exoticas, there's a lot of very passionate fans that love the different genre, the different preferences of the adult entertainment industry, and it really goes back to it's amazing what people are into, and it's amazing to see what people appreciate in their overall styles.
Exactly. Yeah, I never get to visit BDSM, places while I'm working, but during those exotica, those are the first things I visit because I do like watching them. I do like being part of them as well. So I go to their booth and participate or just watch and just, enjoy that part as well.
Exactly, and BDSM. I got all right. I'll say this right now because,
Mhm.
because with the Stephen Mike Show podcast network, we always called it S&M, and then people look at us. I'm like, hey, it's funny because sadomasochistic and the BDSM lifestyle, but it's also a play on our names. Like, come on, people, it's all words. So, and then people would look at me weird. I'm like, can we have a sense of humor here, please? But anyway, I digress. But it's one of those things where it's very interesting that lifestyle as well because BDSM, a lot of people are in that. Like again, pop culture nerdiness coming out here. True
Mhm.
Life. Like there have been so many episodes on MTV's True Life where there's like dominatrixes and people that are into that lifestyle. So it
Mhm.
opens you up to that lifestyle and gives you a learning experience of it.
Yes, yes, there's a lot of it. And there's different kinds, which I've learned, throughout. There are those sensual ones, there are the real, hardcore ones and things like that. And it's just fun to watch both or all of them. Just, getting the experience myself.
Of course, and I gotta say, like, I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of those films. I get it, I understand it. I'll be honest with you, not my thing, and I'll be completely honest with you. It was not never my thing, but I always appreciated it because I knew people that liked it and did it. And you know what I'm saying? I'm not literally like a judging person, so if people
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? People like it. So
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it's not for everybody. And like I said, one of the things that you have to learn while you're in the industry is what are the things that you're willing to do, what are the things you really want to do, and what are the things you might want to do in the future. And like what I've been doing is I'm trying different things and then I figure out who I am, what I want to be, what's my brand, and what I'm not gonna do anymore. But I think that's just part of growing into the industry, and that's part of life generally is to try new things and then decide for yourself what's good and what's not good for you.
I gotta say this. I'm gonna put a visual in your head here, Miss Crystal Davis. All right, I'm gonna take it back to you. Think of early '90s Madonna's bedtime stories album, Human Nature. The video, BDSM, Express Yourself, Don't Repress Yourself. For those that remember that Madonna video, Human Nature, does that one stick out to you? Because that one is a prime example of that.
It is sort of, that's quite a bit, a long time ago. But yeah, Madonna, you can always remember Madonna, that's for sure.
All right, but yeah, so people now I'm gonna put that in your visual images. Madonna's Human Nature. One of the, you know what it is too, because that's the same album that had like Take a Bow and songs like that on it. And then you, I see that video and it's just like, hello, you know what I'm saying? So I understand, but yeah, just to make a Madonna reference here, Madonna's always one of those popular figures. So yes. Anywho, Miss Krystal Davis, Jasmine Leflore, I mentioned,
Uh-huh.
does a lot of great work. I got to interview her. We were talking about a lot of stuff in MMA and the overall, physicality and the combat style. But she's another one, just such a cutie beauty in the adult entertainment industry. And you got to work with her. Can you tell us about that experience?
Oh my gosh, she's such a sweet person inside and out. It was so nice to meet her. I didn't know her before actually we worked together, so we kind of just messaged each other about the scenes and the outfits that we were gonna do. We did that cosplay um all girl bang with Harley Quinn. But she is a very nice person, so sweet. I told her, she was taking her pictures and she was, doing all her poses, and I'm like, can I just touch your ass? And she's like, what? I said, you just have this fine, fine, fine booty. And I was like, it's just so round. I just want to touch it really quick. And she's like, oh, sure. Are you okay? I mean, it's okay with me, but sure. And I was like, oh my God, she is a sweet, sweet person. After the scene, so I brought like water and things like that when we were filming. And she's like, she brought pizza and she fed everyone. And I'm like, I don't, my experiences, I have different experiences when I'm doing scenes with with everyone. And she is one that I will always remember. And actually, we keep in touch now. I texted her a couple days ago and I said, or a week ago, and I said, are you doing well, family and stuff like that? And she's like, yeah, just trying to, raise everyone's spirits and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm just doing my rounds and checking on you. I hope you're okay. And she's like, yeah, when all of this is over, we're going to have dinner. And I'm like, yep, of course. But like I said, one sweet person. One, I would love to keep her like next to me and probably do more scenes with her as well.
One of just that I agree. First and foremost, pizza on the set. That's just hospitality and that's just professionalism right there and working and the overall camaraderie there. I love that. And number two, I gotta say, besides Jasmine Leflore being a cutie beauty and just being the overall sweetheart that she is, touching the booty. You just had to touch the booty.
I just had to go there. She's such a nice booty. I don't. Do you agree with that?
I
Like,
agree with that.
she's,
I've seen it.
I'm like, oh yeah. Every time she's taking pictures, I just watch her. I'm a perv by heart as well. So,
Hey,
but yes, like I said, I mean, sometimes it's just, there's just people that you connect with, even just meeting them for the first time. And like I said, I've never worked with her before. I didn't know her prior to knowing that she's going to be part of the scene. And hey, I'm in love with her. Like her personality is such ray of sunshine.
Hey, I had like almost a similar experience, and it's kind of funny because first and foremost, like you mentioned, booty on Jasmine Leflore. Absolutely, I agree 100% on that. But it's also again taking it back to Bubba Sparks and the Yin Yang Twins. Booty, 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 booty. There.
Rocking everywhere.
Yes, but it's one of those things. Like when I was a kid, so living on Long Island, I went to the Olive Garden, which is located in Massapequa, Long Island. Massapequa, for those of those old commercials there. It's one of those things where like I'm a teenager and this woman came in with her boyfriend. There was a couple, and oh man, it's like picture Jennifer Lopez wearing that green attire with the cleavage sticking out at the VMAs, or like not like little Kim level at the '99 VMAs where she had like the glitter on the boobie, and Diana Ross is
Mhm.
kind of like okay. Anyway, so it's like one of those things where I'm sitting there, then I'm eating, then I look up. It's cleavage city, people, just because this woman was not only was she gorgeous, but oh, and like you got to understand, I'm like 13 years old, 14, and I'm like, Mom, we got to switch seats. And she's like, why? I'm like, we got to switch seats. And then we switched seats, and then she realized, oh yeah, because my mom. I'm just saying, just because I'm like I can't because I'm knowing me and we're guys because we're droolers. We drool. I did not drool, but like what I'm saying. When you're fixated on something, it's one of those things where you kind of just have to like I got to focus on my chicken parm here. I got to get me some tiramisu up in here. Like I got to focus on my food. I can't be focusing on that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I digress. But it's one of those things where yeah, I understand when you see like voluptuosity factors. I like to put it.
Hey, oh, not only men drool, women drool too, and I'm one of them. So yes, I completely understand you.
Hey man, like I said, women drool. What was the old saying? It was like girls rule, boys drool. That whole nine.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right, so we're both drooling our experience.
And I'm proud of it.
Me too. Okay, so from Jasmine Leflore, and we've talked about Well Tile. Like I've seen some stuff with like Jason Michaels and Randall Rush. Like I gotta say, and Rome Major, and I kind of group all these together because whatever scene that you do, like I said, I'm invested, and you really put all into that. And those are three individuals that I really enjoyed some of your scenes with.
One of the few guys who started working with me when I first got started is Jace Michaels and Randall Rush. They were both introduced to me by Will Tile, and they used to hang out a lot. And when I visited Vegas, I would call them and ask them, "Hey, you want to do a scene?" and things like that. And they're always such nice people that they're like, "Yeah, sure. When do you want to?" Things like that. And so I always appreciate those guys giving me time because, I'm older. I just got started. There's really not much more that I can offer, but give them a good scene. But they're always open to doing a scene with me. So I'm always thankful to those guys. Rome, I met him I think in Miami at Exotica. No, actually, is it Exotica? New Jersey. I met him in Miami, but we didn't work until New Jersey. But he's a nice guy, and you know, we hung out a lot in Vegas when I was there. But he's also one of those that, hey, you want to do a scene, and we're like, we're start. You will start brainstorming like all of a sudden. Okay, we can do this and we can do that. And we can do this, and I'm like, okay, okay, let's start now. And the next thing you know, we're doing one or two scenes right away because we're just both into what we do and we enjoy each other's company anyway. We're very comfortable, and so we got to do a couple of scenes together.
Get the creative juices flowing. I like that.
Yeah, one of the nice things that I did with Rome is the one I did. I don't know if you got to see it, the one in the desert with him and
Yes.
Lord Black. So that was fun and scary. I don't know if you got to see what happened. Actually, we got stuck in the desert. So we're like, okay, we drove there, and with the charger, I have a rental charger there, and don't ever go to the desert with a charger. So and after that scene, we had another one back in the hotel, and we're like, okay, we're gonna be late, and then we got stuck, and we're like, I'm nervous, we're gonna be late, we're gonna be late. And so here I am I started digging the ditch out, started digging the tire out of the ditch, and I'm like, come on, let's go, let's go. And they were like, "Oh my God, Krystal, you literally got down on your knees and started digging." And so they're like taking pictures of me. I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" But it's one of those things. You make scenes and you make memories, and that's the part I love. It's like I can tell stories after stories about the scenes I've done, and it's not just about the scene; it's about the whole experience.
I got to say, I've seen the scene. It's another one that's well done. But I also thought of myself, I'm actually kind of glad that you like elaborated on that because I'm like, the desert. Okay, like because I picture the desert like hotness and just it's the desert. It's a unique setting. It's different. But yeah, I'm glad that you elaborate on that because that's a great experience and that's a memorable one. Absolutely.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's hot. It was dusty, things are blowing all over the place, and I had to walk on my heels in the desert. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, what was I thinking?" But then as soon as I saw the actual film, I was like, "That's why it was worth it." So there you go.
It kind of reminds me of, I'll be honest with you, like seeing like the intimate settings. Obviously, you think of like I don't know, old school, like bedrooms and stuff like
Mhm.
just the overall, or even a shower too. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
To quote Smokey Robinson, "Let's take a love bath, baby." I know that's a random reference, but a little Smokey action. Hey,
Yes.
I was raised by a woman that loves Motown. So anyway, I digress. So
Hey, everybody loves Motown. I do.
Me too. Throw on some Temptations, my girl. Hello. Anyway,
Yes.
it's one of those things where, like I remember like the first time I saw like an outdoor scene kind of deal was I remember again. This is me taking it back to my teenage years. Like my friend's hot mom. I remember two of them. There was this one mom. I think it was Miss Styles. They did like a scene by the pool, which I'm like, okay, which a lot of scenes did that. I remember watching Lisa Lips. For those that remember her, there's that iconic scene where she's having sex with the dude in the backyard, and she again the voluptuosity factor with their breasts and the whole nine. There's that term again. So I'm just like, oh man, and just like she was just so seductive, and I'm just like, yeah, it's stuff like that. I remember from like watching my early outdoor scenes.
Yes, I mean, I'm like you. I like the traditional, right? Like
Yeah.
an old fashioned in the bedroom and all that stuff. But then I also enjoy the outdoors a lot, not just for pictures, but I think not so many people will do something outdoor because there's a lot to it, right? You can get dirty while you're doing it in between. You have to cut here and there. But the fact that it's not so like the normal, I kind of like doing that because, it's not there's not so many out there that makes me want to, oh yeah, that's a good idea, you do it in a desert or in the mountain or whatever, in the beach and stuff like that. So um one of the things is that's not always easy to find talent who's willing to do those kinds of things.
Well, I gotta say this with what it's about. It's different, it's unique, but I gotta say, as far as different doing those kind of things, it really opens up people's minds. It opens up people to your work. Like for me, like doing this and just giving you this. Like I said, I really enjoy talking to you, but like researching your scenes and the research that goes into it for me, like you really just appreciate the work that you put in. So I gotta thank you on that front.
Well, I enjoy it, and that's, I'm going to continue doing it, and I'm glad that some other people appreciate what I do.
Hey, I totally get it. I'll be honest with you. All right, and here's the thing, like, folks, this year is my 10-year reunion with high school, right? So one of my dudes who I went to high school with, I still keep in touch with him today. He's a great dude. But sometimes you ever just want to like smack your friends just for saying the most stupidest shit in the world. This was one of those times. So it's one of those things where my buddy he asked me, Mike, so how does that work? And I'm like, what? Oh, because I see you interviewing people like we've touched upon wrestling, music. Like for me, I like to provide a variety, different facets of life. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And he goes,
Yeah.
how does it work to interview an adult star? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, how does that work? And I'm like every other interview,
Same way.
like professionalism, like we've done today, Krystal, ask you about your work, getting into the industry and really just shooting the breeze and incorporating a lot of elements. And he goes, yeah, here's the thing, because when people think of the like adult industry, they kind of are like, well, like what do you what okay, and I'll provide this as an example. Like, what do you think I'm gonna do? You think I'm just gonna go say, so how about that POV scene? How about that blowjob? No, you elaborate, you build it up to talk about the scenes, but you also talk about the work that encompasses it. I just don't go right away ham into it like Jesus. Like, how do you think this works? But yeah, that was one of the times I just wanted to slap him because I'm like every other interview, man. We're all people at the end of the day.
Exactly. We are people, and we do have families, and we do respect other people as well, and so we expect the same, right? I think it's just general being a human. You respect each other, you appreciate each other, and just being a normal person. We are all normal anyway.
True, but yeah, that's the things that sometimes you get asked that just make you shake your head. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, here's the thing. Like I was as a podcaster, you go into different fields, and I know some people stick to the same thing, but for me, like I mentioned, the variety aspect. Like for me, as a teenager, you look at modeling, you look at all these magazines, you look at these said films. Like I think it's great to incorporate that. Like I remember as a kid, like HBO. For those that remember Dave's old porn, for God's sake, the dude used to like show like films from the 80s and he would interview the people that like were in that film. So I thought that was cool. It gives
Hmm.
the aspect of what they were doing in the film.
Well, I have an idea. The next time your friend asks you about that, just say, hey, you know what? Just like sex, you have to have foreplay first.
I'm gonna remember that. Remember that. I like that. I like that. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna remember that. Oh my
Uh,
god. But yeah, no, it's one of those things like with you, like I've seen first of all, you talk about your lesbian scenes, a lot of great lesbian scenes. I believe there was one with you and Lily. There was like a massage seduction kind of
oh,
deal.
yes, she's another nice person, and I can't wait to work with her. But of course, she's in another country, and I'll have to visit her next time.
But
But
that's
yeah,
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't mean to cut you off, Krystal, but the massage aspect of that too, because a nice little sensual massage that leads into the scene. Like I'll be honest with you, who kid doesn't love a good massage?
Well, you know what? Actually, she was actually good with massaging, and I was like, in the first, I'm like, don't stop, just keep massaging me. But I love massages. But she was a great person to work with. She's all about her work, but she's also like just a person. She's very sweet, and she's always like asking, "Is this okay?" or "Is this okay with you? Are you fine with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course," you know. And like I said, there's so many people that are really, really nice in the industry, but there are, people that are really, really extra because you know that where they come from is they bring it into the scene, I would say. Um, it's not just work with them, it's passion, it's, something that they dedicate their life or themselves into. So I really appreciate those kinds of people, and Lily is one of them.
Oh, I gotta say this because I'll be honest with you. Again, traditional. It's kind of like, all right, I'll make another movie reference. Look at Click, for example. I know people. Are, where are you going with this? Adam Sandler, Kate Beckinsale, right? All right. So she likes to before, like, if you remember the scene, like he gets the remote, from Christopher
Mhm,
Walken. So like Kate Beckinsale wants to be massaged first, and
mhm,
it kind of shows with like because Henry Winkler's his father and the mother wanted to have the same thing. She wanted to be massaged and then do the do as you politely
mhm.
for. But he just kind of like fast forward it and kind of do like a dare I say hit it and quit it type of feel.
Exactly. Yep.
But it's like okay, so you picture the scene I'm saying, but it's like
Yes.
it's one of those things where it's like take your time with it, no rush.
Yes. Like I said, foreplay in everything.
See, words of wisdom from Crystal Davis right here. So,
And,
uh,
and you know what? Just like me, sometimes I get off in foreplay first, more so than the actual stuff. So it would be beneficial to lots of people doing that first in
man,
whatever you do.
man, I'm kind of feeling like Starsky and Hutch, Ben Stiller, and Owen Wilson. I like your style. I like your moves. Well said, my friend. So, Crystal Davis, before we close this out, I just got to say, first and foremost, it's really been a blast talking today. And the overture's here. Anytime you want to come back on the show, you're more than welcome to. I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for making me comfortable because I was really nervous.
Hey, don't even worry about it. I love to have some fun, shoot the breeze, and make it not nervous for people because I understand. Because I'll be honest with you, podcasting, a lot of people are just kind of like meh about podcasting. Some people like it, some people don't. But I like to make people comfortable. It's all about accommodation and comfortability.
Well, you're all that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I also look at it like this. Okay. So we were talking about like happy endings, and I'll tell you this one last funny story before we get into our final sentiments here. So, all right. So when you think of massages in the adult world, a lot of people think of happy ending and massage parlors and that whole nine because people just have their mind in the gutters a lot when there can't just be a lot of nice scenes about
Hmm.
massages. But with happy endings, like when I used to go to Friendlies and get ice cream, the ice cream was called the happy ending. You get your vanilla, your chocolate, the whole nine. But I don't know who said something about it. But when you order dessert at Friendlies, you can't call it the happy ending. You just got to say vanilla and hot fudge because I think somebody was like, oh, you can call it happy ending. Now, mind you, there's a lot more important things that are going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of bigger issues to fry, so to speak. So I
Yes.
think calling it the happy ending isn't going to kill anybody. But I think somebody bitched and now we can't call it the happy ending.
Well, you know what? Every ending should be happy. So if you want to label it as happy ending, you may do so. That's what I would say.
See, it's one thing I put it out there, and then you just come back and like clap back with it. I like that. That's again, I got to use that now. Ah, so anyway,
I
man,
don't know. I guess you just bring out the best in me, but I appreciate it.
oh man, I mean, we're shooting the breeze, we're having fun, and I like that. I like that clap back with it because again, there's more important issues. And for me, like I'll be honest with you, when I was a kid, I giggled the first time I saw it because I'm like, I know about this and massage parlors and the whole nine. It makes me think of okay. Now I'm gonna one more last movie. Have you ever seen That's My Boy with Adam Sandler and the whole nine there?
Um, Vaguely. Maybe if you say more about it, I'll remember.
Okay, so he plays Donnie Berger, and that's my boy. And Adam Sandler has sex with his teacher, who's played by Susan Sarandon's daughter in it.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting is he gets famous out of this, but what's interesting is like his career just goes nowhere after this, and then he like needs money. And his son in the movie is played by Andy Samberg, who changes his name because as a kid he named his kid Han Solo, which is his real name.
Right.
On Solo Burger. So he changes his name, and then he meets this girl, and she's very wealthy, and they have this whole thing. And then he comes back into his life, and he's saying stuff like "What's up?" and doing like the old school stuff. And what's so funny about it is Tony Orlando. Yes, Dawn and Tony Orlando knocked 3 times on the ceiling. If you want me,
Yeah.
can't. Tony Orlando's in it, and for his bachelor party, they go to they go to the massage parlor, and pretty much he's like, and he has that Boston accent. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go fuck her over here. You know, the whole Boston thing. Like, look at this guy over here, the new kid's on the block tattoo, the whole night. Because as a kid, when Andy Samberg when he was a kid, he was like 8 years old. And when he's in the shower, the new kids on the block heads are warped because, again, your body grows as a youngin' into an
Right.
adult. So he starts singing, whoa, oh, you got a bad tattoo. Whoa, oh, the heads are fucking warped. So it's hilarious. There's some funny moments. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make here is they're at the massage parlor, and, Tony Orlando, and he just wants to keep it, simple, but Tony Orlando out of nowhere, and it's so funny because, Tony Orlando, like I said, Dawn, it's hilarious, right? He
Uh-huh.
just goes, we gonna get our dick sucked. And I'm like, it's the little nuances that just make me laugh. But yeah, that's my boy, 2012, excuse me, Adam Sandler and that. So that's what it reminds me of because when they go to the massage parlor in Tony Orlando, we gonna get our dick sucked.
Hey, you know what? You can always hope for the best, right?
Ah, yes, there you go. So, on that funny story aside, Miss Crystal Davis, I have to ask you, going back into some serious right here while I my composure, being someone who's, like I said, I look at it like this. You're talking about, being older and relatively new. I kind of compare it to like, look at Diamond Dallas Page in wrestling, right?
Hmm.
DDP got into the game in his 30s, and look at the man now. He's got DDP yoga. He's helping a lot of people. So I got to ask you, what advice would you give to people that want to get involved in the adult entertainment industry and doing the work that you do and are pursuing a career in it?
I just say that if that's something you really want to get into it, have fun with it and start that way because once the fun is there, it becomes work and that's not where you want to be. There's a lot of things involved in it, but if you do your research, talk to the right people, like there are a lot of people who will help you and mentor you with it. Find them, find the right people that you to work with, the right people that'll give you good advice, and just be yourself. Have fun and be yourself. Really, if you're not you, then you're not doing it right.
Beautifully said, and people words to adhere by with Miss Crystal Davis. I mean, I'm going to say this to you before I have you plug the social medias, and again, we will do this again for round two. But I got to say this with you, Crystal Davis. I truly wish you nothing but continued success, love, and happiness. You're doing a lot of great work, and I can't wait to see what you keep doing.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and I appreciate everyone who supports me.
So, on that note, social medias, wherever people can find you, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, your websites, please go right ahead and promote it.
I am on Twitter and everywhere else. I'm Crystal Davis XXX. On Instagram, I'm Crystal Davis XO. I have mini vids, OnlyFans. I'm in Pornhub. I'm in everywhere, actually. All my links. You can find me on all my links, Crystal Davis.
People, there are a lot of great links, and I'm going to say this to you: follow her because not just your work, obviously, of course, with your films, but you got a lot of great photos on there. I think I saw on your Instagram there was one with Audrey Black, you two looking fine as ever. Like, there's a lot of great photos on there.
Yes, I've yet to visit her in Australia, but because of this traveling, I can't. But soon, hopefully.
Yeah, because I got to say, and I'm going to say this because you were talking about photos and studying America's Next Top Model with the emotions aspect, but you take a great photo. You look good. Emphasis on the good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, this is what I have and this is the package.
Hey man, I'll be honest with you. There was a wrestler, and we all know who I'm talking about. Lex Luger. He was the total package. I'm talking about you, Chris Davis. So, and this is where I also step back. Do you have any final words for the people, your supporters, your fans, before we sign off?
Yes, just thank you so much for your support. Please stay safe, stay home, and just be careful out there. We're all going through tough times right now, but we're all going to get out of it soon.
Amen to that. People stay safe and just really just stay positively proactive, if I can say anything during this. Try to find some stuff to do at home and just keep the mind going, keep the grind going, and just we'll all get through these tough times.
Yep, listen to his podcast.
Thank you so much. For Krystal Davis, my name is Mike Larkin. This concludes another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I'll be back in the next episode. Krystal Davis, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.